Hi, my name is Emma Hickey, and my topic was applications and interviews. I have a couple articles. My first one is Mastering the Interview Maze, and that was from the National Restaurant Association. And then I also found another article called Resumes and Interviews and Applications, which was from the University of Toronto. I started with Mastering the Interview Maze from the NRA, and basically the main message of it was the key to hiring the best employees for an establishment is having a solid and accurate interview system. And with this, you'll be able to hire better employees and have a much lower turnover rate. So they give you a few suggestions of how to do this, and their main focus is finding a systematic way to prepare for interviews and asking the right questions, because the wrong questions will lead to hiring the wrong person. So by having a system for interviewing, a lot of common errors can be avoided. They tell you some of the most common errors that are made, and the first one is asking the wrong questions, because by asking the wrong questions, you can't really get to know the person that you're interviewing, and therefore you're not going to get a good impression of them and learn about them as an employee. Another common error is talking instead of listening. The person conducting the interview should only be talking about 25% of the time, and letting the candidate talk more. Another common error is giving away hints on how to answer a specific question. And the last common error is making hasty judgments about someone, because it can skew your impression and make it more difficult to choose who you're hiring. So they kind of list out the steps for good interviewing so that you can have a process that works. And they emphasize being organized and being consistent. So when you don't want to treat people differently. You want to treat all your candidates the same way so that they feel like they're getting a fair time. And I think that's also really important, because if you treat everyone the same, then you'll have the same basis to make your choice off of. So the first step is to read the application and resume thoroughly, get to know your person before, or at least a little before you start talking to them, and it'll help you write up the questions that you need to ask them to better get to know them. And then you need to decide where you're going to hold your interviews, and this is important because you want the person to feel relaxed when they're talking and not feel like there's distractions or people watching them. So it should be quiet, relaxed, comfortable, no obstruction between the two people. And then when the interview starts, you want to be professional, but you also want to be casual so that they feel comfortable. The worst is when you're in an interview and you feel really even beneath the person and really nervous about the way they're going to treat you and if they're going to be nice or if they're super standoffish. So you want to the interviewer should be warm and greet themselves, give their title, and talk casually. Address the person by their name so that they feel like they're important in this interview process. Something that I thought was interesting about this article is that they say to not judge based on attire, which normally, as people going out in the workforce, yeah, we're not in an office space, this is like the restaurant and hospitality industry, but I feel like we've always been taught to dress professionally and really work on our appearance so that we look presentable for an interview, even though working in a kitchen's way different. People don't really focus on appearance and stuff. But this article really said don't judge someone by their attire, because a lot of people aren't really sure on how to dress when they're going to well, not a lot, but some people are unsure of how to dress when they're going to an interview, and it can really inhibit from getting to know the person and their personality and their skills when you're just focusing on their outfit or whatever. So I think it is important, even though this says not to judge. You don't want to go into an interview looking like a slob, but at the same thing, it's the least important thing on the list. Another tip is to not start asking the interview questions right away, because the person's going to feel nervous when they first get there. They need some time to kind of relax and feel ready to answer the questions. So start with like small talk, and this also can like help to get to know someone as well. Ask what their hobbies are, other interests, and it can really tell a lot about someone's personality and the type of person that they are. You want to treat the candidate with respect and dignity, not only to keep a good name for your restaurant or hospitality establishment, but to make yourself look not like mean, and you want to look like you're really professional and you're interested in talking to them as a person. So it's important that they also get a good first impression of you and the establishment that you're hiring for. Before you start the interview questions, you should tell them about the interview process, so what's going to happen, and what they can expect. And you want to make sure all the questions are written out so you know exactly what you're going to ask them. And you want to not really find about previous jobs, but how they did them, how they performed, work ethic, their capabilities. Ask key questions immediately. For example, if you know you need someone for a specific shift, you should find out and make sure that they can work that shift. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time for both people. Try to find out if they'll meet like the standards of the establishment. And something I think that's really important for the restaurant industry is finding people who are team players. It's not an individual job all the time. A lot of it is team playing, and it's important that that person can be that way. Learn by listening. The candidate should be talking 75% of the time as a basic rule. It's easier to do this when you ask open-ended questions. Have them explain or tell, or no yes/no questions. Take notes so that you can refer back to what the candidate is saying, and respond using good body language, verbally and non-verbally. And then after the interview questions are over, you can cover other aspects of the job, which is, I think, also important. People want to know the type of workplace they're going into and what they can expect besides, the basic jobs. What are the other benefits? Who would they be working with? A typical day on the job. And I think it's really interesting, because I've gone on interviews or talked to chefs, and when you know what you're going to be doing, it gives the candidate a better idea of if they're interested. And then at the end of the interview, if this person is a serious candidate, then you can ask them, and they'll have a better idea of whether or not they think it's going to be a good fit for them. So at the end of the interview, another really important thing is to make sure you tell them if you're going to contact them, or if they're a serious candidate, when they can expect a phone call or whatever. But if they're not a good fit for the job, don't give them like false hopes that they might be able to get the job. So I think that this is like a good way to have an interview system. It needs to be, professional yet casual, and kind of all spelled out so that there's no confusion and it's not awkward, and you can really get a good idea of the person. So I also read another article that just tells kind of how to market yourself as a candidate for a job. The key is to stand out and be original, but to still be professional, and your resume should be specific to the job you're applying for. And when you're doing applications, you should be able to explain your skills and how they can fit into that job. You want to sell like your accomplishments, what you're proud of, but also be able to admit, skills that you want to work on, which I think is really important, because people are often afraid to admit, their weaknesses and things that they don't feel as comfortable with. But chefs and people want to know that, so they can know how to help you, and they don't want to give you jobs that you can't handle and that you're going to fail. They want to set you up for success. So I think that's really important that people can do that. So the main takeaway I got from researching this application and interview thing was that employers should have a set interview system so that they can feel successful in finding employees, and they should have the proper interview questions and have them all ready and know what you're looking for. And for candidates, they should be professional but relaxed, and try to be creative when you're answering, but still be really honest and showcase your talents and skills. So that's about it, and thank you for your time.